All of us have gathered here today to enlighten our minds with a compendium talk on ancient Indian universities in honor of this remarkable day of International Day of Education. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 24th January as International Day of Education in celebration of the role of education for peace and development. Without inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong opportunities for all, countries will not succeed in achieving gender equality and breaking the cycle of poverty that is leaving millions of children, youth, and adults behind. We now need to repair the past injustices and orient the digital transformation around inclusion and equity. From ancient India till date, India is a great hub for many educational institutions with many successful people graduating every year. Today, we will get to see insights about a few ancient and very famous universities. Now, I would like to call upon Yamuna Krishnan from S3 BCA Data Science to give insights about Vikramshila University.
Thank you, Pavani. Hi, everyone. I'm here to have a talk on Vikramshila University, one of the ancient university prevailed in India. Vikramshila was one of the most important centers of learning in India during the Pala Empire, along with the Nalanda University. And it is situated in the banks of river Ganga in the northern Magadha in the state of Bihar and at the district of Bhagalpur. And the great university was founded by the Pala king Dharmapala in the 8th century AD, and he also gave liberal funding to the university so as to provide for free boarding and lodging to the students studying at this university. Now, moving on the next slide. Well, talking about the buildings and the administration of this university, the building of this university was very well planned and accommodative. And for performing different duties with the day-to-day working of this university, there were boards in charge, and there is a president for these boards who is the chief abbot, which means head of the monasteries. And in order to ensure high standards of education, students were admitted to the university only if they pass the test conducted by the authorities. And there were 108 temples and 6 college buildings were there with a beautiful Mahabodhi temple in the center with the 6 gates leading to the 6 colleges and 6 learned scholars guarded the 6 main gates leading to the university. And each those 6 buildings had spacious halls for lectures. And during the period of Chanakya, the 6 scholars posted for the work are Reknavajra, who was placed at the main gate, and Jnana Samitra at the second gate, and Naropa at the north, and Prajna Karmati at the south, Technakar Shanti at the east gate, and Vajiswarakriti at the west gate. And now moving on the next slide, teachers and students. Not only in India, the teachers from working at the university were well known, and scholars from Tibet, especially interested in the Tantras. Tantras means they are texts that are usually associated with a particular tradition and deity. And the scholars of Vikramshila were the scholars who were the protectors of knowledge and the religion that have practically built up the culture and civilization of Tibet. And also many these scholars wrote various books on science in Sanskrit, and a few were translated to Tibetan. And it is said that Atiza alone wrote 200 books, some original and other were translations. To say about Atiza, his full name was Atiza Dipagara Sri Jnanana, and who was a Buddhist religious leader and a master. And one of the most pointed out thing is when the university started, Dharmapala, which means he's the king of Bengal, as his patron appointed 108 teachers and other specialists, making up a total of 114 teachers. Boarding and lodging facilities were also made for the scholars who came in a large number from Tibet. There were also scholars from India too, and it has been said that there were around 3,000 monks scholar at their university during the 12th century. Now moving on to the next slide. Now, let me share some of the names of great scholars from Vikramshila University who have influenced Tibetan culture. First one is Acharya Buddha Jnanapata, and he was appointed as the priest of King Dharmapala, and later he became the Acharya. And he became the founder of a new cult of which Vikramshila was the only center in those days. And he also wrote 9 books on Tantra in Sanskrit. Then second one is Vairojana Rakshita. He wrote several Tantrika works and translated into Tibetan. Later he went to Tibet where he was given the title of Mahapandita and Mahacharya. Next one is Chetari. He completed his studies at Vikramshila and was given the title of Pandita. Later he became a professor at Vikramshila. Then Ratna Vajra. At Vikramshila, he won the title of Pandita and the honor of becoming a gatekeeper. Later, he went to Tibet and learned the Tibetan language and translated into Tibetan 14 works on Tantra. Then last one is Habhyagara Gupta. He was a native of Gouda, which present known as Bengal, and he became a monk and was appointed by King Ramapala of Magadha to perform religious ceremonies at the palace. And he belonged to a Mahayana school, and he was a great authority on Tantra cult and translated 7 works into Tibetan. Next slide. Hmm. Let's let's take a look into the courses taught here. I noticed that like the other university, this university also provide only specialized instruction in various subjects at high level. Here, admission was restricted only to those who like to become Buddhist monks, and the institution represented the Mahayana form of Buddhism. The Mahayana form, however, presupposes the Hinayana, and it is a development of the same. And Buddhist textbook belonging to both these branches of Buddhism must have been taught here. And I'm interested that along with these, all the important branches of Hindu learning were also taught, although they could not be classified as Buddhist in nature. And I think this can be explained by the fact that Buddhism is not an entirely new religion, as some believe. It's merely a phase of Hinduism, and in most of its religious and social aspect resembles its parents' faith. Some of the details common to Buddhism and Hinduism are like Brahmanical practices of asceticism, begging, non-violence, insistence on right habits, and dominance of ceremonies. And a special significance was attached to the tantras, which consist of religious teaching, magical and mystical formulas for the worship of supreme power. The courses taught in Hindu institution covered subjects like the 14 Vedas, Vidyas, etc. And Buddhism was generally speaking averse to any worldly pleasure or to the life of a householder. In these circumstances, it is no wonder that they should have rejected the subjects leading to enrichment of worldly life. And it is significant to note also that the institution were meant for prospective and Buddhist monks and Buddhist nuns, and the knowledge of items that create fetters for human being should have been avoided. And it is not possible to decide with any amount of precision the duration of the course as in Hindu schools. Perhaps the schools depend upon the intelligence and application of student, and that it was normally 12 years. They did not prescribe any definite uniform length of time for learning various courses. And in Hindu institution, the finishing of their course was not in vogue. That was not the need of the day, because knowledge was treated as its own reward. The authorities of this university used to confer the title of Pandita on those who had finished their courses at this university, like at the age of patron king. And the object of course must have been to pay grateful tribute to their scholarship as well as to the place before other students. Then moving to the next slide. Coming to the decline of Vikramshila University, the Vikramshila University was destroyed and attacked by Muhammad bin Bakhtiyar Khilji, who seemed to have mistaken it for a fort, and the library of the university was burnt down by his men. And it has been reported that when the invading army came across to the library of the university, they want to know the contents of the books and search for someone to give them the necessary information. But the carnage had been so merciless through that no one was available for the purpose. And the university was completely destroyed, and they killed the scholars and saints in the university. And as we all know, India catered to the needs of scholars and students having aspiration of excelling in higher education. Actually, Vikramshila was one of such a center of high education in India during medieval age, which proved to be the formidable center when new knowledge was created. Um, in my point of view, due to Vikramshila University, India became center of attraction for its neighborhood, and India remained in touch with the development around it. From the cultural aspect, Vikramshila, apart from education, contributed to the evolution of new sect of Buddhism, and it's also proved to be an important center of art, particularly the Pala School of Art centered on the use of basalt. And sadly, the destruction of Vikramshila at the hands of Turks not only put an end to the bright academic journey of Vikramshila, but also terribly shattered the great Indian tradition of knowledge. Although thousands of ancient education system were destroyed, but the concept of ancient education system is not fully declined. The flame was kept alive, and India is a home to numerous ancient universities spread across its length and breadth. Being the proud citizens of this country, we need to explore more of what our history has got in hands for us, understand that, learn and appreciate the ancient education system which once held the topmost position in the entire world. Maybe through this understanding we could come up with something new to our world. And with that being said, let's now look to another such university of ancient India. Thank you.
I'm surprised that admission was restricted only to those who like to become Buddhist monks. Thank you, Yamuna, to give us insights about Vikramshila University. Usha Gayatri from S3 MA English Literature will now be joining us to give a talk about Nalanda University.
Yes, am I audible? Can you see me, Bhavani?
Yeah, you're audible.
Listening, I'm Usha Gayatri from Integrated English Literature. So, I'm going to give a small speech about Nalanda University. I hope you all are aware of Nalanda University. Okay, Nalanda in Bihar was the most famous Buddhist monastery of its period. It mainly prefers for Buddhist learning. Today, it's UNESCO World Heritage Site. The government of India in 2010 passed a resolution to bring back the famous university. It was established at Rajgir. Nalanda is famous for its beauty and history. Let us look back to the history of Nalanda. History. Nalanda, the name was derived from a cobra called Naga. This was one of the theories, and another one was the incessant charity given by Bodhisattva. The place was noted as a religious center before the Christian era. This place was blessed by the stay of Buddha and his disciplines and had witnessed a number of discussions on Buddhist beliefs. This was also the place where Mahavira and Nagarjuna carried discussions. The king Ashoka had built a temple at this place because it was only a little way from thickly populated Rajgrat, an ancient city of Nagaland, Nalanda. And this was the convenient place for religion practices. The university was founded by Shakraditya and developed by his son Buddhagupta Raja. This place was destroyed by Mihirakula in the course of the pursuit of Narasimhagupta in 580. But after the destruction, the place flourished with a educational center in the days of Nagarjuna. During the days of Buddha, it became a university and scholastic pilgrimage began to flow towards the place. So next one is buildings at Nalanda. When we see about buildings at Nalanda, it is widely spread out, and all these buildings were majestic in their size and their height, with beautiful towers adorned hilltops and observatories. The adorable beauty of these buildings makes our eyes admirable. The description of this artistic and wealth of Nalanda was appreciable. The description of one of these buildings will give a rough idea of the vastness of a monasteries. The walls are made up with high quality bricks of a light yellowish tint and admirable text. While seeking excavation, it has shown at least 30 monasteries stood at this spot. The Central College had 7 halls attached to it with 300 rooms for teaching work. And next one is admission. So, Nalanda is mainly important only for higher education, and admission was stricter to those who had the necessary background to follow PG studies. This institution was known for learnmen from all over the country as well as from the neighboring nations gathered together for getting their doubts solved. Those members came from China, Korea, Mongolia, Tibet, and Tokhara. Although some of the scholars also came for researching about the manuscripts on Buddhism. A very strict entrance examination is conducted for those who wanted to get admission in the university. Only 20% of those who came seeking for admission came out to successful at the examination, and remaining had to go back in the disappointment. Those candidates who got admission are well known as experts in religious debates. The probable age of admission was about 20. The students from Nalanda University were taken as models of morality, and not a single case of rebellion has been reported. So, let us explore some important subjects taught in Nalanda. The curriculum of university was very impressed with all subjects. A few of the subjects were treated as compulsory. Those subjects were study of Mahayana and the association of all the 18 schools of Buddhism. The Mahayanists put forward the doctrines of Sunyavada and Vijnanavada. Among the subjects were taught on the basis of logic knowledge. The system of logic were acceptable to various schools. Astronomy was taught, and observatory and a clepsydra. Clepsydra were specially maintained by this university. Tantra was a very popular subject at the university. It deals with the use of mystic syllables and as word as well as magic. The Tantra became especially popular because they allowed liberty of actions. Other subjects studied in the university were the Vedas and their 6 auxiliaries: medicine, grammar, Chanakya philology, law, philosophy, and the miscellaneous subjects. So, these subjects were drawn from different fields of learning: grammatical and Buddhist, sacred and secular, philosophical and practical, science and arts. There were some institutions for primary education run by the university where 6 years old were admitted. Such students learned Shabda Vidya or grammar of the Sanskrit language, because knowledge of Sanskrit was essential for Buddhists and Hindus who elementary course in grammar. So, who are the elementary course in grammar for 6 months? The student was required to study the Sutrapatha and Taduputta from Panini's grammar. So, let us know more about the main pillars of Nalanda. Uh, yeah, the teachers from Nalanda were famous all over the world. They defeated many panditas belonging to other faiths and converted them to Buddhism. The fact that a distinguished king like Sriharsha sent for panditas from Nalanda to test the depth of this learning. It is said that 1,000 panditas from Nalanda University were present at the assembly held at Kanyakubja by Sriharsha. When come to the teachers and students, there were 10,000 monks stayed at Nalanda. Of these, 1,510 were teachers, and the remaining 8,500 were the students belonging to various subjects studied. It has been pointed out that there were on average of 100 lectures or discussion every day. On an average, the number of students per teachers was 7 or 8, and it must have been very convenient to give individual attention to students. So next one is the library in Nalanda. The university had a large collection of manuscripts in various subjects and various languages stored up in three splendid buildings, appropriately called Ratnashagara, Ratnodadi, and Ratnoranjaka. This was greatly helpful in the spreading of knowledge because we find numerous mentions of scholars from abroad copying out manuscripts in hundreds from these libraries and taking them to their countries. It is said to have got copied from Nalanda 400 Sanskrit works amounting to 5 lakh verses. So, at last, conclusion. University is destroyed with 3 times by the kings at the time and also rebuilt twice by King Arshavardhan. But the real destruction of Nalanda University is done by Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khilji in 1197. Buddhist monks and students from Nalanda were buried alive by Khilji and his army. It's a piece of information regarding the Nalanda University I delivered in front of you. If you research about Nalanda University in depth, you can grab more wide information regarding this famous Nalanda University. Thank you.
The fact that the subjects taught there varied from astronomy, philosophy to yogas and Vedas has surprised me a lot. Thank you so much, Usha Gayatri, to enlighten us about Nalanda University. Now, I am pleased to invite Vijay Lakshmi ji from S3 BCA Data Science to enlighten us about Vallabi University and Kantalur Shala.
Thank you, Pavani. I'm Vijay Lakshmi of S3 BCA DS batch, and I am here to say about Vallabi University. And Vallabi is one of the most important centers of Buddhist learning, and it is also championed the cause of Himalayan Buddhism. The University of Vallabi was situated in Saurashtra in Gujarat, and Vallabi was the capital of the Maitreya kingdom, and it is situated on the seashore. At that time, it was an important port for international trade and for some time, Vallabi became a rival for Nalanda in academic. And now moving to the next slide. The instruction in Buddhist doctrines, Brahmanical sciences is also a core subject that is taught here. Although Vallabi championed the courses of Himalayan Buddhism, it was not exclusive and narrow. Vallabi University provides reference to Brahmanic students coming from Gangetic plains to learn. Other than religious subjects, they also taught subjects like Nidhi, which includes political sciences, statesmanship, then Varta, which includes business and agriculture, and then theology, theology, law, economics, and accountancy. And students studying at Vallabi University may be employed by the kings for assisting in government of their kingdom after their studies. And the fame of university spread all over the northern India. The college was popular for its secular subjects, and students from all over the country came to study in the university. A book called Kada Sarita Sagara, written by Somadev Bhatta, narrates the story of a Brahmana student who sent his son to Vallabi rather than to Nalanda and Banaras. About the famous teachers and scholars who lived at the place, expecting name of two of its panditas were Gunamati and Sitaramati. The stamp approval of the doctrines preached by various scholars by the authoritative panditas of Vallabi was much valued is learned assemblies. And during the visit of Huan Sang, he said that there were 6,000 monks were studying in that university at that time, and there were 100 monasteries were provided for them in the middle of 7th century. And all wealthy and generous citizens around that university provided many funds necessary for running the university. And the Maitreya king, who ruled between 480 to 775 AD, were also the patrons of this university and gave abundant grants for the working of the university. And he also equipped the libraries of the institution. And now moving on to the next slide. Uh, in 775 CE, the patron kings were attacked by the Arabs. The university got a setback, and afterwards, the successor of the Maitrika dynasty continued their dominations after this period. And not much information has been retrieved regarding the university, and defeat of the patron kings led to the slowdown of all the educational activities in the 12th century. Now moving on to the next slide. It's about Kantalur Shale. Kantalur Shale University is over 1,000 years old university at Valiyashala. It had a rich culture and educational part of their city. The university had both Vedic and military education. The university is also called Nalanda of the South. These educational institutions are attached to temples, so they are called Shale and were integral part of the temple complexes. The rich and the the uh, sorry. The rich and the generous helps with the maintenance for running the chalet, and there were so many rules and regulations among them. And from that, Kandalur was the modern for all other chalets. For the entry, each student is tested by 5 of their senior students, and the criteria for the entrance were to know grammar, mimamsas. Mimamsa in Sanskrit it means reflection or critical investigation. The Mimamsa is to give rules for the interpretation of the Vedas and to provide a philosophical justification for the observance of Vedic rituals. And Paurohityam means priesthood, the duties of a priest, and Trirajya Vyavaharam, that means tri-state affairs, the study about the business of Chola, Pandya and Chera. And 61 systems of knowledge were Kandalur. The subject discussed in Mandalis where Vyagaranam, Buddha Darshanam, Samagya Darshanam, Vaisheshika Darshanam and Mimasa Darshanam. And this mandali is meaning as above I mentioned. It means the grammar group or group of people. So in that group of people join together because they have to share their interest or belief. And Vyagarana means grammar, Buddha Darshana means explanation of stories of Buddhas, Samagya Darshanam it means enumeration or numbers, and it also spelled Sankhya, one of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. And Vaisheshika Darshana means the name Vaisheshika is derived from Vaishesha, which refers to a particularity or individual character of a thing emphasized by a system. And this Vaisheshika system is earlier and exercised considerably influence on the Nyaya system. And both these systems aim at the critical analysis of universe by logical methods. And this Minmasa Darshanam mean ways of viewing words, and Lokayada Darshana means worldly ones meant for the world outlook of people. And to say about Vyagarna Mandali means grammar circle or Vyagarna discussed, like Lopa, Agama, Adisha and Visarga. Lopa means Lopa Sandhi, Agama means Agama Sandhi, and Adisha means Adisha Sandhi, and Visarga. Materialistic Lokayata, as mentioned above, or Chavarga, or otherwise called Chavarga, as mentioned, were also taught there. Discipline was well maintained in the university, and punishment as well as fines were also given for offenders. And now moving to the next slide. Even before the 8th century onwards, attacks against the institution started. As per the university history, once Chola king visited Java island, The Cholas were having a strong navy. The Java king requested Chola king to help him acquire a seat for his son in the Kandalur chalet. Soon the Chola king became jealous of the fame of Kandalur chalet and thus he attacked the chalet. This is considered as the main reason for the decline of many and after that many of the people of this chalet lost their interest in intellectual pursuits and took military training. And Chola invasions and consequent fall of places near Vizhinjam, it is possible that the Brahmins migrated to Thiruvananthapuram from Kandalur near Vizhinjam with the idol and installed it in a temple. So at this time, the university might also be shifted its position. In my point of view, the core strength of our Indian civilization has been never-ending drive to seek knowledge and wisdom. In recent times, this characteristic is seeking a slight to downfall, but not for our ancient ancestors. And their ability to question and debate to arrive at the fact was the prime importance. Our ancient India was a home to the world's oldest universities that were the center of higher education and the culture exchange in ancient times. And ancient India is also believed in importance of education and importance of knowledge as well as education for civilization to progress. And even in ancient times, our people were very bothered about the importance of education. And when I started reading, I was also surprised about these universities. I was also unaware about this and was the only thing was known to me was the name of these universities only. But now I'm very curious to know more about our ancient university, and I hope all of you will learn about our ancient Indian culture through our universities. Thank you.
I am more than happy to know that even after many attacks, Vallabhi University stood still and saved its reputation. Thank you so much, Vijayalakshmi, for sharing such valuable information with us. Takshashila is an ancient university on the eastern bank of the Indus River. I would like to welcome Sneha P. from S3 BCA Data Science to give us more insights about Takshashila University.
Thank you, Pandini. I'll share my screen. I hope it's visible.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So, Takshashila, the Lost University. So, as we know, Takshashila or Taxila, as we know now, is one of the oldest universities of India. Now, Takshashila was in ancient Indian city, which is now in northwestern Pakistan. It is an important archaeological site, and the UNESCO declared it to be the World Heritage Site in 1980. So, we can see here Takshashila, located about 50 kilometers from Islamabad, present-day Pakistan. Now, emergence of the name Takshashila. The name Takshashila in Sanskrit itself means hill of Takshaka, the serpent king. The place have been said to have derived its name from its first ever ruler, Taksha, who was the son of Bharata. And the Ramayana narrates how Bharata, after defeating the Gandharvas, found the two famous cities that we know now as Takshashila in the Gandharva Desha for Taksha and Pushkalvati for the other son Pushkala in the Gandharva. Now we see the Takshashila and Pushkalvati here. Pushkalvati was said to be the capital of Gandhara that time before the partition, of course. Now history. Interestingly enough, the great Indian epic Mahabharata was first ever recited at Taxila at the great snake sacrifice of King Janamejaya. The right side, you can see the image, the snake sacrifice. Now, when Alexander the Great invaded India in around 326 BCE, Ambi, the then ruler of Taxila, surrendered the city and placed his resources at Alexander's disposal. Now you can see here Ambi offering gifts to Alexander the Great. Now the question I would like to ask you is that before joining any university, we look into certain factors
Like consider certain things while applying to any university or college, like courses offered in the university, the admission procedures, and so on and so forth. So let's look at some of them when it comes to Taxila. Administration. Let's see how the administration is at Taxila was. Let's see the courses that were offered at Taxila, the finance, who took care of the finance of the university, and then let's see the admission procedure at Taxila. So administration. Now, the main reason why Taxila or Taxila came to be known as a famous center of higher education is because several learned teachers who were recognized as authorities on various subjects resided at this place. Now, if you see, higher education is being made bold there because only courses, higher courses were offered at Taxila. And also, it was because of their excellence, the teachers' excellence, that they could attract hundreds of students from distant parts of the subcontinent, not just from India, from other places too. Now, each teacher was an institution in himself and enjoyed complete autonomy in his work. Now, his authority was final in fixing up the duration of the course, in directing the course of studies, to even selecting or rejecting students. Now, you might have a question there. If the teacher has the power to select and reject students, were there times when students were actually expelled from the course? Well, interestingly, there was. There were some instances where teachers advised students to leave their studies because they could not fit themselves in the social, intellectual, or moral atmosphere of the school. After completion of the course, what happens? So, unlike today, the completion of studies was not marked by any formal examination or convocation for conferring degrees. So the students who completed the studies did not receive any written certificates or diplomas because it was believed that knowledge was its own reward and using it for earning bread or for achieving any selfish end was a sacrilege. So the Takshashila University, this is how it looks now at present. Now let's see the courses that were offered at Takshashila. So there were a wide variety of courses offered at Takshashila, both in literary and scientific subjects. So literary and scientific subjects were not known like that, of course. So we have specific names, terms used for that. That is Vedas and Shilpas. Now, looking into Vedas, the number of Vedas studied in this university is mentioned as 3, but it is difficult to explain why the 4th Veda, presumably the Atharva Veda, has been dropped from the list. There are many assumptions regarding this, but let's make that for another day. Shilpas. There were 18 Shilpas taught at the university. Now, sadly, there is no precise mention of what the 18 Shilpas were. We see the broken Shilpas of Buddha meditating, which is in Taxila. Now, finance. How did the university fund the expenses and who handled the finances? So, interestingly, again, no student was required to pay any fee. In fact, a stipulation that fees should be paid was vehemently condemned. So, those days, knowledge was considered too sacred to be bartered for money. They believed that a salaried teacher, that is, a teacher who charges fees on a compulsory basis, is to be treated according to the scripture of Manu and as unfit for company at the table. So the remains of university, again, the present day, Taxila. Now, did the students give nothing to the gurus, not even dakshinas? This might be a question again that might come to your mind. Well, it is true that students at the termination of their studies paid something to their teacher by way of dakshina. Many times it was just a turban, a pair of sandals, an umbrella, or even an upper garment. Mind it, all these uh, products does not end or help them in any way. So the dakshina offered was simply an indication of the recognition of the deep debt of gratitude that the students own to the guru. Let's see the admission procedures. Well, the students could be admitted freely to any course and could choose the subject of their choice. Admission never became a problem for those who had these requisite qualifications, namely freedom from jealousy, straightforwardness, and self-control. Let's see some of the famous students who studied at Takshashila. First one, Panini.
As we know, Panini is the greatest grammarian of the Sanskrit language, and he was a student of the university. Now, Panini is considered the founder of the Sanskrit language and literature. We have Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, the minister of Chandragupta Maurya, who reduced Nanda dynasty of Magadha to ashes, was also a student at Takshashila University. Jivaka, the famous physician, is also described as a student of this university. He was an expert in medicine and is said to have cured many people's emperors' diseases. Now, to conclude, Takshashila had to face the brunt of attacks and invasions from everywhere, every nook and corner of the world. The Persians, Greeks, Shakas, Kushanas too laid their destructive marks in the institution. When the Chinese traveler, you might have heard the name from Vijayalakshmi and Usha, Hyun visited Takshashila, the town had almost lost all its former grandeur and international character. Today, in this world of technological advancements, we have the luxury to sit at one place and know thousands of things with just one click. Learning history would develop a sense of collective past, because events in the past have made us what we are today. So that's all. Thank you.
It is really surprising to know that no student was required to pay the fees in the great Takshashila University, and great people like Jivika, Panini, and Chanakya were its students. Thank you so much, Sneha, for sharing such great knowledge with us. On this auspicious occasion of International Day of Education, thank you so much for organizing such a wonderful event to enlighten us, and thanks to each and everyone for embracing this occasion. Some of the interesting facts which I learned now are that Takshashila University had attracted students not only from India but also students from other countries like China, Arabia, Syria, Babylonia, and Greece. And Kandalur Shala, which is over 1,000 years old university, had both Vedic and military education, which is very necessary. The library of Nalanda University was separated into three big buildings. And Vikramshila University was one such center of higher learning in India during medieval age, which proved to be the formidable center where new knowledge was created and disseminated far and wide. These are not only the educational hubs, but also the symbol of our rich heritage and culture. We all should be proud to have such great institutions, and we should work on increasing our literacy rate by educating each and every one and making India developed India from developing India. I'm happy that we are given this splendid opportunity to get such great insights. Let us now consider this as an opportunity to learn about our own ancient universities and feel proud to be on the same land of such great universities. It has been a tribute to honest host all the members and audience of this meeting. I would extend my generous thanks to all the participants for attending this occasion on this special day of International Day of Education. Hope we get to see more of such enlightening sessions like these in the upcoming days.